What's happening, Mr. Lee?
I know, don't let your blood run.
I'm not.
Hey, payment for it.
Hey, good to see you.
Good to see you.
Oh, yeah. Oh, you're kidding.
Good, how are you?
Michelle?
Eddie, what's up?
Fun stuff. How about you?
What's the name?
Student advisor.
Don't see her. I don't see Mara. I don't see her. Usually she's here. She's very responsive.
I don't see her.
5, 6, 7.
Huh?
We know Allie's not coming. There was a death in her family. She's at a...
He's ready to rock. I'm not seeing it. So. Good evening and welcome to the school committee meeting of November 8th, 2017. As we start our school committee meetings, I'd like to remind you that we are recording this and we are also broadcasting it live, and we are recording it for maybe using it at a later date. So please keep that in mind. I'd ask you to please join me in a moment of silence. Thank you. Would you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. As I said, greetings everyone, and thank you all for coming this evening. I'm going to move around on the agenda just to get some people in and out of here. We have some representatives from the district attorney's office. We have the fire chiefs and police chiefs, so I'm going to do the best I can to get them in and out of here. We have some people from the food pantry, and then we can get down to our normal business of the night. I'd entertain a motion to approve the minutes of October 18, 2017.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor? Opposed? Abstaining? And just for everybody's thing, we did a Masco. It was called 101 Laws, I believe. You do not have to abstain from voting on minutes of a meeting that you were not at. You're voting at the document that is presented at the meeting. That's what you're voting. So you don't necessarily have to abstain. I learned that in minute 101 this week. Our student advisor is out on assignment. She's not going to be with us this evening, but she will be at the next meeting, giving us a report of what's going on. I'm going to go right to the drug use and survey report. We have Ed Jacobs and Gabby with us this evening to give us a report. Thank you both for coming. I know you're not strangers here. You've been here before, and it's good to see you both, and thank you for coming.
Thank you for having us. Miss Gabby Peruccio, sir. So we're happy to be here. Gabby's going to do a lot of the speaking tonight because she's well versed in this data, has looked at it. Just to say to you that this is drug-free community money that we're using. We're in the 4th year of these dollars. It's a 5-year grant. We're hoping on getting another 5 years. So we'll start that application probably within a year, obviously. And then just so we know, we're included in that. It's Whitman-Hanson, Rockland, East Bridgewater, and the town of Brockton. And the drugs that we focus on, or the ones that we needed to make sure that we were addressing in our application, was the opioids and then misuse of prescription drugs. And this is under 18. I'm going to leave it to Gabby at this point.
Okay. So I passed out 2 different sheets for you to get a better understanding of what I'm talking about when I talk about the statistics of substance use in Whitman-Hanson. And so the first one-pager is 8th grade data, because last year we were approved to survey 8th graders, as that is one of the grades that we focus on, in addition to 9th and 11th and 12th. And so today we're just going to go a bit through the 8th grade data and then show you some trends from 2016 to 2017 amongst the 9th, 11th, and 12th graders, because looking at the overall data is kind of inconsistent right now, because we didn't survey 8th grade in 2016, and then we didn't survey 10th grade in 2017. And so when you look at the 8th grade data, it's pretty straightforward, but in terms of past 30-day use, it's pretty much a lower percentage. 4% of students reported alcohol use, and that includes anything from 1 day to 30 days. 4% reported marijuana use, a little bit higher for alternative cigarettes, which was 7%, and then 1% for prescription drugs. And then you look at the perception of risk, which is how harmful do they feel that substance is. And those percentages are very high, as they include slight risk, moderate risk, and high risk. And so 98% believe that alcohol is a high perception of harm. 91% of students believe that marijuana has a high perception of harm. And then 91% believe that alternative cigarettes provide a great risk, as well as 96% reported for prescription drugs. And then on the right column, you'll see parental disapproval and peer disapproval. So what those mean is how harmful do they see their parents think that those substances put them at risk. And then for peers, it's how do they feel their friends think it is. And so those also look pretty high, 99% all the way through for parental disapproval. And then the one that stood out in peer disapproval among 8th graders was alternative cigarettes, which 85% of students believed that this would put them at little to wrong and very wrong. And so that just gives you a bit of a snapshot of 8th grade. And then when you look at the next PowerPoint, which I provided you with, this shows trends from 2016 to 2017. And there's a bit of a description on each of these pages for each graph, because they look a bit confusing, but you're all looking at a black and white color of this image, and each of these, the top line, for instance, on past 30-day use is from 2017, and the bottom line is 2016, but for your knowledge, you're not going to be able to really tell that with the black and white. So, for instance, this is 9th grade data for past 30-day use on that first sheet. And what you see is this increased from 2016 to 2017. So there was a drastic increase in alternatives in alcohol use, past 30-day use, and then a 13% decrease amongst marijuana past 30-day use.
So
yeah.
Gabby, on that second graph you're talking about, 2017 is the bottom line?
2017 is the bottom one, yep.
Thank you.
And then when you look at 12th graders, the top line is 2017 and the bottom line is 2016. You see an increase in all substances except for prescription drugs. So there was a 6% increase in alcohol, there was a 9% increase in marijuana, and then there was a 6% decrease in prescription drugs. And then if you flip the next page, this shows you how the trends occurred across grade levels. So for marijuana use amongst 9th, 11th, and 12th graders, there's a sharp increase. And then for alternative cigarettes, there was a steady increase as well, with 35% of 12th graders reporting past 30-day use of alternative cigarettes. And then if you flip the page again, we go into that perception of risk. And that's how harmful the student feels that substance would be on their body. And so those answers combine the questions slight risk, moderate risk, and great risk. And in this case, there was a 5% increase in people, 5% significant decrease in marijuana. So 12th graders saw less of a risk for marijuana. And then for the grade, by grade level, the perception of risk for marijuana, you can see across all grade levels, there's a steady decline from 9th grade up until 12th grade, which has been consistent across all substances. And then in terms of alternative cigarettes, on the next page, you'll see there's an initial decrease in the perception of harm towards alternative cigarettes, but then it goes back to an increase amongst 12th graders, which is an interesting finding.
So Abby, what the, excuse me just for interrupting for a moment.
That's fine.
What the graphs are showing is as the children age, they think the risk is less.
Yep, exactly.
In all categories.
Exactly.
The younger they are, the more they think the risk is. The older they are, the less they think the risk is. So it kind of gives us a showing of where we have to focus the...
where we should start.
The education starts here and the focus ends up over here.
Right.
Okay. Thank you.
And then we get into parental disapproval in terms of the next few graphs I'm going to show you. And For ninth graders in particularly, it decreased slightly except for alcohol, and really those numbers look very high amongst the ninth graders in terms of their perception that their parents feel that this would be harmful. And then when we get into the 11th grade responses, it increased slightly except for prescription drugs, which stayed the same, which is at a high of 99% of students believing that their parents would feel it'd be wrong. And then for 12th graders, it also stayed consistent. And now when we move to marijuana, on page 8, the parental disapproval of marijuana, it decreased steadily amongst the 12th graders as well, which we see another common theme in this data. And so more students in 12th grade think that their parents would think it's not as wrong as did the ninth graders. And then when we look at alternative cigarettes, there is a decrease in the parental disapproval, their perception as well. And when we move into peer disapproval, which is the last core measure that we study amongst your students, this is their perception that their friends feel that it would be wrong. And so that's their opinion of what they would feel. And so this decreased except for